I think the thing that nobody talks about when you're a retired perfectionist is the life that you choose after you become retired. I used to plan my life extremely perfectly, but unfortunately, as a retired perfectionist, I stopped planning and then I ended up not following through with a lot of the goals that I wanted to set for myself. And it wasn't because I was lazy, I just didn't trust myself enough to follow through with the tasks that I had set for myself. So, in order to fix that part of myself, well, fix is a harsh word. How can we put it? Align. We're going to align with the person that I want to be. I created a system because a lot of the planners that I've been using over the years, while they have been great, they haven't provided a sort of structure that is good for me now. Like a lot of the planners that I used to use, between the Hobonichi that I got last year, the Moleskine that I've been using. I've been using a Moleskine since 25, but it's just not working for me. A lot of the times, most of the pages just go empty. Like I'll start the first day, as you can see here, but outside of that, just emptiness. And then I even started with a new planner, or at least I tried to. It's called the Common Planner. A lot of people were suggesting this and thought it was good, but I don't know. It's March, and guess what? I'm still very much empty. So I decided to take a chance on myself and actually create a system that works for me, that isn't already predetermined in a planner, whether one that's structured like this, an empty planner like a Moleskine, or even just planners that have been made by other creators. No knock to them, but it just wasn't giving what I get. So I thought to myself, maybe if I create something that is by me based on what I want to do in my life, I'll actually follow through with things. So that's what we're going to go over today. So the system that I created is something that I talked about before in a video here. It's basically what I like to refer to as the three kind of core values that I have about my life that kind of intersect with everything. So that's routine, rest, and reflection. So routine is basically the things that you do every day. And this is kind of the building blocks for building that self-trust with yourself. For rest, I mean both inactive and active. And what I say like that is sometimes you're gonna need rest, babe. And that may mean the traditional sense where you're actually going to sleep. But then there's types of rest that not only get you, for a better term, rested, but just make you feel calm. Then the final one is reflection. And this is one that I think a lot of people, I would say, lean away from because it's talking to yourself. It's actually sitting down with yourself and understanding how you feel, what made you feel that way, what event happened, or just even auditing what the week felt like for you, whether that be from a financial sense, a career sense, emotional sense, anything. So I like to look at reflection not only on a weekly basis, but also a daily basis to just check in with myself to say, hey, am I okay? I think that's the one thing with rest, routine, reflection that is very important because a lot of people rely on motivation. And motivation is cute. We don't hate motivation over here. She's adorable. Everybody will give you a motivating speech, a motivating quote, Motivation Monday. But a lot of the time, motivation will go out of the window when you have to do that work. So not only do you have to take in consideration the discipline that goes along with showing up for yourself, but you also have to change what you're repeating on a day-to-day basis. If you keep doing the same things, of course, change isn't going to happen. But also, if you think the same things, change isn't going to happen internally either. So with the system, not only am I building outside of myself the routines that I do, how I include rest in there, but also changing the way I think about myself. So today, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through my system, not as a planner necessarily, but as a system that I'm using to build self-trust with myself. So with the system, it's not about planning an entire year or even your whole life. Let's slow down. It's about planning for the life that you have right now. A lot of the times we look at getting these planners and we automatically think, oh my God, I have 365 days to fill out. What am I going to fill with those things? Or you start with a week and you're like, what's going on? So I like to look at my life in quarters, and maybe it's the project manager in me, but I have a Q1, a Q2, a Q3, and a Q4. And within those, I have certain amounts of goals that I like to accomplish and move on to the next quarter once it's done. So I kind of made my system design in that way where I don't print out the whole year. I only print out 3 months. So I think today's video is fitting because April is starting. So I wanted to go ahead and print out all of those sections together. So starting with the journal itself, this is from Cloth and Paper. It is the A5 agenda cover. It's in leather, and I wanted this because not only did I want to create a planner, but I also wanted to have something that was nice. And of course, I love aesthetics. Who doesn't love aesthetics? Something where I put all of the papers. I didn't want to just do it online, which for the first 3 months of the year I did. I ended up using my Notion and I created a Notion template of the templates in here. But for April, I wanted to get back to my roots, which was paper. The reason why I also wanted to get it, I wanted to personalize it. So I ended up getting my initials engraved in there. Now looking back at it, I wish I had did it in silver instead of gold, because everything else in here, the hardware, even the logo is in silver. So it's very interesting. But I do really love this agenda. It has different sorts of pockets that I can put in things. Overall, it's just a really good buy. Was it expensive? Yes. And this is an investment piece. This is something that you can use. Unlike a lot of other journals that get used within that first year, I really wanted something that I could use year after year. So this was an investment. But if you are very into keeping your things in nice places, I think this is a really good investment for you to start if you're looking to make your own planner. So when you open up the journal, it lands on my, I would say, a fluted divider. I got this from Amazon, and I wanted just to add some interest besides just immediately opening up to the monthly page. So I decided to get these fluted dividers. I just really like the look of this, because when I open it, it just creates another layer of aesthetics that really calls to me. And then behind that is kind of a picture frame or cover, if you will. So this came from one of the other divider sets that I got off Amazon. I'm thinking about for each month, and I think the bullet journal girlies do a really good job of this, is that they create like a cover page for the month, and that's what I want to start getting into. So for right now, I'm using this until my creative juices flow and I end up actually making a cover for April. But for now, it just creates a nice touch after the fluted situation. So then we get into the directions or instructions of how to use my planner bundle, which is available for download down below if you want to. But I also like to keep this because I also have to remind myself of how to use it. So it kind of just goes over all of the intricacies of the planner, from the intentions worksheet, the 30-day tracker, monthly calendar, weekly planner, a daily planner, weekly reflections, and of course the weekly reset checklist. So I just think having this at the beginning, especially for me, is just understanding what I'm using it for. It just further gives me confirmation of, hey, this is what you set up for yourself, this is what you're going to use, and this is how we're going to move forward to build that trust with myself. After that is the quarter goals page. Water break. So the quarter goals breakdown is basically going into the pillars of what my life comprises of. So when I say that, a lot of the times when you're building your goals, they always center around 4 things, and that is your home, your heart, your head, and your health. So for me, when I'm thinking about goals, I try to break them down within those four realms. And the quarter goals for me is a way to look at my life for the next 3 months of how I want that to look. How do I want to show up in those spaces? What do those spaces look like? What do I think that I can align with? What do I think that I will enjoy? All those things. This is giving light to that, and I can write them down. So, for the home, of course, we're talking about environment, rituals, intentional living. For the heart, we're talking about emotional health, connection, and joy. Head is mental clarity, focus, and personal growth. And then, of course, health is physical well being, rest, and movement. So each of those, I try to look at how I show up and or how I want to show up. And this is where I write them down. So at the beginning of every quarter, if I ever feel like I'm misaligned or disconnected from where I want to be, I can always go back to these quarter goals and go through that. The next section of my journal is where officially the month starts. So I got these dividers also off of Amazon, and I'll link everything below if you want to get them for your own journal. But of course, we have the little April sign here. And if you flip through, you go to the calendar page, which is pretty traditional. But I also realized I've been using Google Calendar as well as Outlook for work, their calendars recently, and I feel like I'm missing dates, or I'll show up and be like, oh, I didn't know I had this. I didn't know I was supposed to do this, or I didn't know this appointment was coming up, or anything like that. And I realized that when you're using online calendars, nothing against them, and I'm pretty sure it works for some people, but for me, it's kind of like a set and forget it. So unless it's within that week that's coming up, I don't know what else is going on within the month. So I wanted to really bring that back. So that's why I created a monthly calendar for myself, just so I can write in those dates when I'm taking vacation, when there's meetings, when there's appointments, anything. So I can put it in here and I know that it's happening. But I also like to put down kind of how I want to feel during the month, what I want to let go in the month, and also what I'm looking forward to. So that can also recenter me to that month. Yes, we already put it as our quarter and how we want to feel during the quarter, but it's also good to break it down by month as well so you can align even further. As I'm getting older, I'm trying to figure out if I'm a Sunday or a Monday start, and both of them are available. Sundays, of course, is my day where I'm resetting. We're doing home resets. I'm no longer getting groceries on Sunday because it's just chaotic, but at least I'm meal prepping on Sundays, writing down at least what I'm going to be eating that week. So I don't really look at it as a start date. Really, it's more of a prep date. So that's why I always have like the issue of either doing Sunday or Monday. But I know it's a very niche thing to think about if you want to do a Sunday or Monday start, but for now, we're going to have the Sunday start on here as my prep day, and we'll see how I feel in May if I want to keep it as the Sunday start or a Monday start. The next thing that we have is our monthly intentions. Well, this is another added on journal prompt for me to start thinking about what I want to feel for the month. So it's who you want to be and where you want to go throughout this month. So the four categories the four categories are what I'm letting go, what I'm welcoming, old habits, new habits, and then of course this month I want to feel. So a lot of the times, again, the introspective level of rebuilding your trust or even just rebuilding your life is often missed from some of the planners because of course they're either empty, or the prompts that people give in the or the prompts that are given in the workbook planners sometimes just don't align with the questions that I want. So I thought these four categories were very good because on a monthly basis, I can see what was working very well for me and then what wasn't working well for me for the last month. So I can know what I can move forward with, but also what I'm going to let go. And then just for me, it's understanding just the habits that I have. The next page is our habit tracker, which the habit tracker is different from a lot of the habit trackers that I see online. Most of the habit trackers is kind of just like oh, I'm going to put down a list of habits and then I'm going to see if I can accomplish those in 30 days, like drink water, walking, read a book, things like that, which are all good and part of my goals, of course. But I think, and this could just be me, where if you put too many habits or too many habits on the tracker that you want to do, I just feel as though you won't get to them, you know? And I don't want you to set yourself up for failure. And I don't want to set myself up for failure. So that's why I created the habit tracker the way I did, is that it's only going to be one habit a month. And I know that's shocking. I know that's shocking. I know. But it's only going to be one habit within those categories. So you're going to have a habit for your head, you're going to have a habit for your heart, you're going to have a habit for your health, and you're going to have a habit for your home. And it's only going to be four. Only four. And I know you're probably saying, I'm not doing enough, but that's the point. You were doing too much anyway. So let's simplify it just a little bit. And I'm talking to me. I'm yelling at me right now. I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at me. I was doing too much because I wanted to get the change that I was looking for. But in the process of doing too much, I burnt myself out. And now I'm here where there's no inaction. Where there's nothing but inaction in a life that is still not the way that I want it to go. So I have to think smaller, more simple, and more realistic. It's not to say that you can't add other habits onto here, but at least it'll put me in a place where I can know that, at least on paper, I'm accomplishing something. And if I accomplish something, especially as a retired perfectionist, it will make me feel good. The thing about this monthly spread is that this is where intention becomes visible. If I can't see it, if it's not right directly in my face, I'm not going to follow through with it. And if I don't follow through with it, I'm also not going to trust myself. So at least when I have all of these pages, I can say, hey, this is the beginning. And as the month goes and I see the progress, or I see the checks off on the habit tracker, or if I look back and say, hey, I'm not doing an old habit that I'm no longer was, or if I see an old habit that is no longer happening, I know I'm on the right track. All right, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of things. And this is where we actually plan our weeks and deal with the day to day. This is where my life actually lives, not just in my head, but actually on paper, so I can keep track of everything. So, of course, we start with another divider, because I can never have too many dividers. I like to look. Am I the only person who's really into tabbing? Like, I love being able to touch a tab and be like, whoop. So this is another tab, and it's different. It's a frosted acrylic that I also got on Amazon. So the first page that we end up on is the weekly planner. So again, it's breaking down what's happening that week, which honestly I've been really good about on my Google Calendar, but just taking it further and making sure that I'm committed to my journal, I wanted to make a weekly planner in here as well, so I can keep track of what's happening on that week, what priorities that I have during the week, any to-do list that I feel like I need to accomplish during the week. And then once the week has concluded, I can say all my little highlights that were really, really interesting or just made me happy, so that I can keep this for myself and say, hey, this was a nice week spent and this is what happened, versus just having the appointment on my Google Calendar. It just gives a little bit more depth to life. The next thing is my cleaning checklist, and this is going to be listen, I love a clean home. Who doesn't leave a clean home? There's certain people who clean every day. I am not that person. I would like to be, though, but I also know that deep cleaning every day is not realistic, especially with a 9 to 5, being in a relationship. I have cats and I have a social life somewhat. Those things that aren't just not going to get done every day. So I decided to create myself a little cleaning checklist where I have things that I do every day, but they're simplified. It's not the whole house, it's some of the house. The next one is weekly fitness. Or this one is funny to me because, again, all of like the things that I track are in different apps. So my fitness, and even on the next page, which is my meal planner, is technically in MyFitnessPal, but I wanted to see how I felt about writing it down, so that's why I created a weekly fitness tracker as well. The next place is skincare, which isn't really difficult because I love skincare. I love taking care of my skin, but I also realized that I fell off. Like the idea of skincare is nice while I'm providing for, I'm pampering myself, all of that. But it was another thing that I kind of let go because it was too much. And then the last one is my weekly meal plans. Again, I usually have this in my fitness pal, but I'm going to start writing it down because I feel like this will also be good for my grocery list, which I have listed here. It's not about me separating my life into categories. It's more so about tracking the way I show up for myself during the week. And that way I can have evidence to say like, hey, you did that, instead of it just living in my brain. Because a lot of the time I would find myself doing the things, but then next week I'm like, did I actually do the things? So now I have a place to actually say that I did the things. Does that make sense? I hope so. If you gotten this far in the video, drop a heart down in the comments. Okay, this is the part that's going to change everything when it comes to those routines that I said. And of course, we have another little tab for that, and it's our daily plans. So where we start off at is our daily planner, and this can come timed or untimed. I have both options, but for my planner, I put untimed because even though I have a set kind of time that I want to wake up in the morning, it may not always be the case. So I wanted to leave it blank and just make sure that I'm able to put the schedule in here. So we have today's intentions, today's top 3, today's to-do list. It also has a mood tracker, which I found really cute because as a Cancer, I always have a mood. It is what it is. And then we list out what we're going to have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and then my water intake. And we also have a little space that says one thing I'm proud of myself for today. So I really like the idea of tracking, or not even tracking. I like the idea of being very intimate with my planners to say what was going on, because I used to journal very, very heavy, but it's been a little difficult to journal lately. So I wanted to start small and include those things. And then after that is a small journal page, and this is completely optional, and it's something that, again, because journaling has been a little bit difficult for me, I wanted to still give a space for me to journal as an option for myself. I want to get, at least during the morning times where it's the quietest, I don't have to answer to anyone, anything. Everything is very slow. I can sit down and really gather my thoughts of where I am for the day. And I think that I want to start introducing it, but I don't want it to make it a habit right now. But I want to give myself the option for it to live there if I do. So as you can see, every day has its own little daily planner as well as the journal page. So for the 7 days of the week, I have a daily planner and a journal page that I will figure out and fill out with all the things. All right, we're coming up on the last page, and this is, well, we're coming up on the last section, and this is my weekly check-in. So we have another divider here, and we're going to turn into our weekly reflections page. And this you can look at as a place to, again, write down how the week was for you, when things that went well, things that you feel as though you can change, your favorite moment of the week, next weekend's intentions, and even a little check-in for your mental, physical, and emotional health, just to make sure that you're in alignment with where you want to go. And I really like this because this is the place where a lot of people skip, and this is a place where I skip as well, because I'm very busy into doing the things, but I'm not very busy into figuring out how the things made me feel. And I feel like a lot of times people miss, if you don't reflect, you're going to continue to repeat the behaviors. You're going to continue to repeat the habits. You're going to continue to repeat the activities, how you feel, and all those other things. And the only way for change is to actually look at what's happening in front of you. You can't say that you want to change your life if you don't know what to change. So this allows me to look at my life and say, hey, this really worked well. This didn't work well. It's not that it's bad. It's not that I'm bad. It's not that the world is bad. You're just looking at life in a very introspective way and saying, hey, maybe I can tweak this little thing just so I can build a little bit more percentage happiness, you know? And the last page is my weekly reset. So, of course, you see everywhere on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where people do their Sunday resets. And I have my own kind of Sunday reset. It's not necessarily always on Sunday. And even with my weekly reset, it's not necessarily going to be a Sunday thing, but it's more so to find a quiet space to write down tasks that you can do to make your week easier. So, whatever day it's going to be, you just sit down and look at your categories in your life: head, health, heart, and home, and just think of ways in which you can improve it or things that you need to do to make sure that the week is going easily. I think one thing that I really, really want to try this week is making sure that I'm sitting out all of my clothes. So my work clothes when I'm going to work the night before, any gym clothes when I'm going to the gym, just setting those out. So, because that's one of the blockers that I have every day where I'm always looking for something to wear. Whether it is to go to the gym or go to work, I'm always looking for something to wear. And I get so annoyed in the morning. So I feel like removing one of those blockers is removing the blocker of finding what to wear, similar to removing the blocker of what I'm going to eat for the week, is going to be very helpful. So think of that page as that way, where you sit down and be like, okay, what can I do to better prepare myself for the week? The rest of the journal is kind of, I have another fluted divider, and then in the back I have some note paper that came with one of my dividers. So I thought this would be cool just to keep it back there and see if I use it or not. Because of course we all take notes, and I need something that looks professional, especially with an agenda that looks like this. Like, who would want to write in it? So I was like, okay, I can take this to work, not only be as my planner, but also my note taker. So we just have that in the back, and that's all of the journal. The system isn't about being productive. It's about me creating space to follow through on the things that I said that I wanted to do. As simple as this. It's either you're going to snooze on your life or you're going to follow through with your life. And I want to be on the latter side of it. Now, this is the part that I'm going to talk to you about, beloved. If you keep saying that you want a different life, but you're not tracking your days, you're not reflecting on your weeks, and you're not keeping promises to yourself, it's not about you can't. It's about you not having a system to protect yourself and also build self-trust with yourself. So that's why I wanted to introduce the system as a guide for you to see what I'm doing, and maybe if you want to do it too alongside me. I created a digital version and it's linked down below if you want to use it. I also have a freebie that you can use to get started, which is 3 little prompts where you will track your habit for 7 days, write down your intentions about what's working, what's not working, and then also your own little reset at the end of the week just to get you started. I want you to know that you don't have to build your life from scratch. You can start right here. I'm starting right where I am right now, figuring it out day by day. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty, but you got to start somewhere. It's going to be messy. It's going to be imperfect. It's not going to be like the life that you used to do in your 20s or your early 30s or anything like that, or when you felt as though your life was together. It's going to be the life that you're building right now. I just want you to know that you don't have to restart everything. You don't have to rebuild everything. You can start right where you are. All you need to do is follow through. So I'll see you in the next video.